रोशनी का कारवां.
This podcast is brought to you by Score Foundation.
ये है रोशनी, रोशनी, रोशनी का कारवां. रोशनी. Highway, ये है रोशनी का कारवां.
Hi and welcome to the Purple Eyeway Conversations. My name is George Abraham. My guest today is an interesting personality. He's from Bangalore. Sundeep Rao is his name. When he stands and speaks, people laugh. When he sits down in front of a microphone and speaks, it gets recorded as a podcast. So welcome, Sundeep.
Thank you, George. It's lovely to be here.
So, Sundeep, golf is something that you've taken up recently, and you happen to be blind. So it's a bit of a seeing game. You need eyesight to see where you're going to be striking the ball. You need eyesight to know where the ball is, and all that. So, how come you took to golf, and how do you actually play golf?
When I get the answer to how to play golf, I'll let everyone know. I think I started when I was young, in '96, when I was about 13, 14. And so to describe my vision, I have a form of macular degeneration called Stargardt's disease. So I had a little more peripheral vision back then. And this is when golf was new for youngsters back then. It wasn't a big game for me young people. But back then I could see a little bit of the ball and I could manage. But I never realized how important that was. I would just do it because I took a real big liking for the game, because it's kind of a game between you and yourself. Even though you're playing on a golf course, you still have to understand what your swing is doing and how your body is moving, and even a millimeter or a centimeter of difference in contact can send the ball 50 yards to the left or right, or even 2 yards ahead or 200 yards ahead. But I stopped for many years because my sight got worse. I couldn't see the ball. It was frustrating. But then about 2 years back, Dipesh from Enable India called me up and he said, are you aware there's a format of golf internationally recognized called blind golf, which has 3 different categories: people who are completely blind, people who are like me, who are significantly blind, and there are people legally blind. There are different scoring systems, if you want to call it.
Yeah.
So we wanted to bring this to India as a format, and I said, hey, good opportunity to get back, relearn the game without being able to see the ball.
Yeah.
And that was a very interesting time, because for me it was a chance to get out of the house and spend time with myself doing an outdoor sport, right? Because I did play cricket in school a little bit. I did play tennis before I lost my vision. But I realized then, when I took up this for the second time, if you want to call it, in 2021, that you can play the sport for as long as you want. There's no retirement age. You can play till you're 18, as long as you can walk and as long as you can talk.
Is there any accommodation like sound, audio clues and all that?
No. So you, in blind golf, are allowed a guide who's allowed to accompany you, align you to the direction you need to hit, align the club to the ball, and give you other environmental information, like are you standing above the ball, are you in a sand trap, is there water next to you? So like your screen reader.
Moving away from golf, when did you first know that you were losing sight or you don't have sight?
When I was 8, as you and I have discussed, I was trying to find a pretty girl.
Yeah.
And I ended up finding a pretty boy. And I said something's wrong with my eyes. I don't know if he was a pretty boy. It was a boy. That's just it.
Okay.
But it was overnight I lost my central vision to macular degeneration. So my entire central vision disappeared overnight. My peripheral remained degenerating in stages. So when I was 8, I could manage. I could see the tennis ball or the cricket ball or whatever. And as I entered my teenage years, reading became harder. First it was large font, and then even sports became an issue. That's why I stopped playing that. And then now I'm 41 and my peripheral vision's now dropped to I think 10% of what it was.
So when you have peripheral vision, your face is looking somewhere else while your eyes are looking somewhere else. Is that correct?
Yeah, sidey vision.
Sidey vision.
Yeah,
So
can use it for sidey things as well.
So very often people think that you're looking somewhere else, but you're actually looking at them.
It's so strange that the kind of brain compensates so quickly for it. So yeah, I've been called squint-eyed, cock-eyed when I was younger. But if you're supposed, that's the weird thing, right? People think it's rude if you don't make eye contact when you're talking to them.
Yeah.
But if I do make eye contact, I can't see them.
Yeah.
But if I have to see them, which is polite, I have to see from the side. So it's a bit of a dilemma, right?
So you're okay talking to me because you can't see me, I can't see you.
Best, right? I just wear glasses now.
Okay.
If you know of anyone with vision impairment who needs guidance on living life with blindness, please share the Eyeway National Toll-Free Helpline number 1800-5320-469. The number is 1800-5320-469.
So with this eye condition, what was the influence on your studies and your academics?
So I grew up in the 90s, so that's when I did my schooling, the 80s, and so 1990, 91 is when I got diagnosed.
Yeah.
So back then, the schools in Bangalore were understanding, but they didn't really know what to help with. So I would get extra time.
Yeah.
While giving my exams. I would have friends help me with note taking. I would sit in the front row. But I think, obviously, the biggest support through it all was my mom, who would, read out all the notes. She would obviously go to schools and say this is what he needs and kind of be an advocate for me.
Yeah.
The whole tech revolution came much later.
Yeah.
But it was, I think, for the longest time in the early years when I needed help, it was my mom, I think, a couple of helpful classmates, and then books on tape, which was when I did my undergraduation abroad. They had I don't know if the kids here will know, but we had all the books on cassettes. So if you want to get one textbook, it's 40 cassette tapes. So you have to carry a big sack and go around. Which book is that? It's history. And if you're not good at history, just throw the tapes. So then, of course, all of you know JAWS came into the picture, which was amazingly revolutionary. And then there was a thing called Kurzweil Reader, where you could scan textbooks and you would upload it to your computer. And so I'm saying 1990s were books on tape, my mother reading out. 2000s were JAWS, laptop.
Books on JAWS.
Books on JAWS. From human JAWS to the computer JAWS. And then, of course, smartphones came in 2008, 9.
Yeah.
Even earlier, but I had my first glimpse of the phone built-in screen readers in 2009. And it was amazing because, when I would do certain things, being able to respond on the go, you can't carry JAWS everywhere, right?
Correct.
But the phone that way has really revolutionized the way you can take work on the go for us. You can send messages through Siri or talk back or send emails or share contacts. Otherwise, I have to memorize every number.
Yeah.
And that's also a good skill.
Yeah.
But it's an optional skill now.
Yeah. I was just wondering, at the age of 8, you lost your eyesight and you found your sense of humor, or you had the sense of humor right from when you were born?
I don't know. Do I have a sense of humor? I sometimes doubt myself. I think we all have a sense of humor. I think it's kind of educated out of us.
Yeah.
Because, there's one designated class clown, right? If everyone tries to be funny, then the class clown loses their job.
Correct.
So I think I would say the sense of humor was more of a diffusing mechanism to kind of break the ice, to not stand out as the weird blind guy, to also break awkward situations when someone calls you squint-eye, cock-eyed. You either be big and go beat them up, but if you can't find them, who are you going to beat up, right? So you'd rather crack a joke, then everyone laughs. So I think, I didn't really look at it as a skill for life or a skill to take to the professional stage, but it was always there, I think, at some level. I like humor, I like breaking tension through laughter.
So when did you first think that you wanted to stand up and speak and make people laugh?
Oh, I never thought actually. I was terrified of speaking publicly.
Yeah.
I didn't. I remember. I think in the 6th or 7th standard, they asked me to. There was a class where you do public speaking, right?
Yeah.
And I think I ran out of the classroom like giggling, and I was like, "This is not my future profession." 2009, I sort of got on stage for the first time, and even then, I wasn't trained as a public speaker, you know.
Right.
But I think the here's the nice thing: stand up is a lot about how you say it, right? And what you say, of course, is important as well.
Yeah.
But I think once you get the laughter, the confidence of the laughter starts giving you the confidence to speak publicly.
Yeah.
Because even after 1 year of doing it, if you have 3 shows where no one laughs, your confidence can go away very quickly.
Yeah.
So, I think the idea of making a room full of people who don't know you, who don't know each other, who come from different backgrounds, with different worries, with different concerns, with different hopes, with different ambitions, but for that 30 minutes or 1 hour, they're laughing. I think that's a very nice feeling.
So let me put you on the spot, Sandeep.
Sure.
I'm giving you 1 minute. Why don't you make the audience laugh?
Wow, thanks, George. This was...
I'm laughing already.
Yeah, yeah. You're really? Okay, okay, cool. Okay. I thought that was a joke. Okay. I don't know, we have a different audience. I don't know, upset the school teachers by cracking unschool-friendly jokes. You know, I'll tell you a joke which I did. It wasn't done on stage, but you guys will like it. The kids will like it. So last year, in 2022, my wife and I had a baby girl. And my wife wanted to have a natural birth.
Yeah.
So we went to this birthing center. It's called a midwife center, right?
Okay.
Not midlife center.
Okay,
That's what I went for my 40th birthday. So I went to a midwife center, and so my wife was in labor for 30 hours.
Okay.
Short time.
Yeah.
Men should not comment on this, by the way. So at 10 to 30 hours, the doctor calls me, and I run to her. I'm like, "Doctor, what's happening? 30 hours of labor. What does this mean for her? What does it mean for me?" She says, "Sandeep, 30 hours labor. You know what that means for you? For the rest of your life, whatever she says, just shut up." I said, "Okay, that's a good point." But I said, "You know what? Let's light the environment." It was a little tense, right? 30 hours of labor. So I said, "Doctor, you know, I have an interesting to ask you. You know, growing up in school, you know, you work in a birthing center, so you see babies every day.
Yeah.
But you know, I remember when I was growing up, all the kids in my school were put into different sections. You know, all the arts kids were in A section,
Yeah.
all the business kids were in B section, and all the kids whose mothers couldn't push hard enough, they went to C section." So a birthing joke. So I almost got banned from the hospital for that joke, but I thought, yeah, that's sort of where I ended the humor for that day.
So your wife had a C-section, or
At the end of it, yeah, after 30 hours, I think I got pushed out as well. So yeah.
That was a nice one. So when did you get your first call to entertain an audience?
You know, here's a strange thing.
George.
I know, yeah. I was going to see the podcast has changed now. It's a different. You know, people mistake it, right? I've got calls from weird requests because it's weird when you know you're sitting with family and then you put on a speakerphone and so that, "Yo, Sandeep, how much you charge?" I'm like, "For what?" Let's be clear here. So the request, I in fact got one of my earlier shows was in the basement of a lady's house between a kiddie party,
Yeah.
and my payment was mango juice. So I was like, my career is going very well, you know. And then the mother-in-law came and said, "My daughter-in-law is very pretty, no?" I said, "Hey, what kind of show is this? For mango juice, she's not at all pretty." But my first call, I you know, because stand-up back in 2009, it was pretty unheard of, right?
Yeah.
Like blind golf. It was kind of one of those new chapters you have to set. You have to call up a place.
The future was blind.
The future was blind, yeah. I mean, you call up, imagine calling up a cafe or a bar, right? Because typically that's a nice environment where people are chilled out, you have good audio, it's more intimate. And you say, "Hey, I want to do a stand-up comedy night at your venue." And they're like, "Wait, Wednesday night we get about, say, 60 to 80 to 100 people who come, have a good time, dance, listen to music. And what are you offering instead? two guys come and speak for 2 hours? No, not thank you. So we had to make a compelling case that stand-up is a viable form for them as a venue which will make money. So that took some time, and let me put it in perspective. In 2010, when we had our first room where we did comedy shows, we had 2 shows a month.
Right.
You fast forward to 2023, this is 2010, 13 years later.
Yeah.
In Bangalore alone, we're hitting about 65 shows a weekend.
Wow, so that's a huge growth.
Yeah. It's not done by one person, obviously.
Yeah, yeah.
But 65 shows over a weekend, that's 35 shows a day.
Yeah.
So earlier we'd have 60 to 70 people per show, 2 shows a month. Now 65 shows, there's 1 person at each show. So it works out pretty well, the numbers. So it's the same number of people going. So my first show was a corporate show at Infosys.
Yeah.
And that was my last one for 2 years because I did a joke on Infosys. Yeah, they weren't very happy. They don't have a sense of humor. If you want to do comedy, don't work at Infosys. That's my as long as you set the expectations right. If you're only chasing after fame and the popularity and the numbers,
Yeah.
that can burn you out in 1 year or even 5 years. Or but there's one thing that you enjoy the process of writing a joke, telling a joke, going to different places, that being your primary motivation. But if you are motivated by the outcome, by the achievement, by the recognition, then that can really be a quick end if you're not aware of it. I did it for 11 years before I took a break in 2020. Now it's been almost a 4-year break. The reason for me taking a break is because comedy served 2 purposes, right? One was, of course, my outlet for humor, my outlet to make people laugh. But also, the biggest thing I think we all like which is attention. And I decided to move away from, obviously because of the lockdown, the online shows were not really intimate and fun, right? So I then took to podcasting because that's more one-on-one. You can talk to people from around the world.
Yeah.
And I think I also reached a stage in my life where, my daughter's at home now, she's 20 months, I can be at home, not travel like 3-4 times a month or maybe even more. But to answer your question in one short way, there is no lifespan for a comedian. It's all about how you want to navigate the journey. You can go for as long as you want, as long as you have your wits about you, you're funny and you can tell jokes. Or in today's day, if you get cancelled, then hey, you're done. So it really depends on the market or you.
You said that you took a break from stand-up comedy and took to podcasting.
Uh-huh.
Now, what exactly is a podcast? It's a relatively new concept.
Mm.
So maybe in one line you could tell us what a podcast is, and then how did you get on to podcast, and how did you move on, and a little bit about, I believe you have done 2 series. One is a series that you generated for yourself under your own brand, and something else you did for Spotify.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us.
So podcasting in a nutshell is a story in audio.
Right.
That's it. You can tell a made-up story,
Yeah.
like a crime fiction story.
Yeah.
You can do an entire series on Indian history or world history or dinosaurs, how they came and they died. You can do a personal conversation, like what we're doing. You can do financial news. So any story you have, which is fact or fiction, in an audio format. Now, of course, there's some video elements coming.
Yeah.
But I did 2 seasons, yes. I did 2 seasons of Life Gone Wrong, which I did with Spotify back in 2020.
Yeah.
It was, the concept being we all experience wrong. That's a given. I think everyone in life will see wrong. Now, do you take that wrong and sit in a corner and say life is so unfair? Or there are people in this room who've taken wrong and saying, it's in my stride, it's hard, but I'll use this adversity to do something with my life.
Yeah.
So that was conversations with people who've experienced and faced adversity. Spoke with you on that. Spoke with other people who've experienced injury, people who've experienced war, people who've experienced life-changing accidents and also illnesses, people who've born with disabilities, people who've overcome relationship issues. So it was quite a diverse set of people. And once that ended after 2 seasons, I realized that the extension of me being on stage making people laugh was this other thing, which was I enjoy talking to people, not just for 10 minutes on a superficial level, but going down deeper into what motivates them, what drives them, what sort of shapes their perspective, how they look at life, why they look at life the way they look at it, and also the work they do and how that's an extension of who they are. So I took that along with the format of podcasting, to my other show now, which I do call the Soapy Rao Show, which is my nickname, Soapy Rao. And don't ask why.
Is that because you were slippery or?
Yeah, there's some prison joke there which I'm not going to talk
No,
about.
I was about to add a second part. Is it slippery or because you're very clean?
Both.
Both, okay.
Yeah, I'm squeaky clean.
Okay. Yeah, carry on.
So yeah, I'm presently doing that podcast. It's taken a break in Jan. But yeah, I've done about 150 conversations with people from around the world. And again, that's the power of technology, right? I can sit in Bangalore, talk to you in Delhi, talk to someone who's doing research in Wales, in Australia, someone who's doing plastic pollution research in Spain, someone who's doing, who's gauging icebergs sitting out of Antarctica. And it's all through Zoom or an interface like Zoom. And that's the true power of the internet, right? Not seeing how many likes someone got on social media.
To support our work with the blind and visually impaired, you can visit the donate page on our website www.scorefoundation.org.in. Please note www.scorefoundation.org.in.
So, who are some of the names that probably are universally known or well known that you have actually engaged with on your podcast?
There's a guy called George Abraham.
Okay. Apart from him, I know him, yeah.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Okay.
I've spoken with, I recently spoke with an author from Bombay. His name is Anand Neelakantan.
Okay.
He's written an entire series on the Hindu epics,
Okay.
the Mahabharata and the Ramayana, and he's written books on that, fictional books.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of other authors from Calcutta. There's got Rujula Das, I've got Meghna Pant. These are the authors. I had a brain surgeon who had a stroke, and she was a witness to her own stroke because she was semi-conscious, and she's written a book called Whole Brain Living. Her name is Dr. Jill Bolt Taylor.
Okay.
I've got some comedians. I've got Kunal Kamra on the podcast. I've got Atul Khatri, Vipul Goel, Aditi Mittal. These are friends and colleagues, so it was, good to have them on, talk about stand-up. And yeah, I've got scientists. I've got, as I said, scientists, psychologists, psychotherapists, behavioral coaches, life coaches. I've got, I had on Life Gone Wrong, I had Firoz from the India Inclusion Summit on the podcast.
Yeah.
I had Justin Yesudas, who's from Hyderabad.
So when a stand-up comedian speaks to a stand-up comedian, what happens?
It's very boring. Because we talk about comedy. Which show did you do? How much did you get? Where did you do it? It's a very dull conversation.
When we blind people have conversation, one-on-one conversations, anywhere in social, sometimes, you find that somebody will walk up and tap you on the shoulder and say, whom are you talking to? There's nobody in front of you.
No, this actually, I'll tell you a story. I did a show for Bosch, the company in Bangalore. There's a resort called Wonderla, the water park.
Yeah.
So they booked that and I performed. It was in this courtyard. There were two other comedians. My friend who performs first goes up and warms up the crowd, having a good time. I go up second. I'm hearing some laughter. I'm getting warmed up. And then I just, suddenly everything stopped, right? And I feel a little bit like moisture on my head. I'm like, what's going on? And I continue. I'm like, a comedian is dedicated to his job. So I continue. Then 5 minutes later, nothing. A minute after, my friends like, dude, you might want to get off stage. They've all gone in and it started raining. No, don't me.
Thank you very much, Sandeep, for being in conversation with me and enthralling the audience here. This is a little couple of flowers which are made by children. It's not natural flower. It's made by some of the children who are connected with this festival. And we have a little token of our love from the India International Purple Festival.
Excellent, thank
something
you.
Inside which is interesting.
Thank you.
And maybe you could stand up with me and
Yeah.
we'll take a photograph. I hope you enjoyed the morning as much as I did.
I thoroughly enjoyed myself. Thank you for the chance, and thank you all for spending this hour with us. Thank you very much.
है रोशनी का कारवां।
This podcast was brought to you by Score Foundation.
ये है रोशनी, रोशनी, रोशनी का कारवां, रोशनी। Highway, ये है रोशनी का